Gentlemen, welcome to this Time to Talk, another session of our journey through construction machineries. We know that the most crucial resources for any construction company is their machineries for various projects. If you don't have the right machine for your construction project, no doubt it's going to impact highly on the outcome of operations. A sudden failure of a critical machine can cause delay in project, also loss of properties and even fatality. Whenever a company is building any type of construction structure, heavy equipment such as excavators are involved. In previous part, we have gone through excavators. How do you know that you have the right excavator for your project? You see, the right excavator will provide you with sufficient power and strength to meet your project requirements. At the same time, it will be operating at maximum efficiency. It may surprise you that an excavator can have less horsepower than another machine, but it can perform better because of its hydraulic system. But for handling specific jobs, there should be certain attachments which are necessary to be attached to the machine for performing specific jobs. As we said before, excavators are versatile machines with plenty of functions. If you are an end user, there are some factors that you need to consider, including the size, weight, reach, tail swing, horsepower, attachments, hydraulics, breakout force, and so on. These are some of the factors that you should consider. Today, I am going to enlighten you on some of these. One of the most common attachments in an excavator is a hydraulic breaker, or what we call as jackhammers. A breaker is a very powerful hammer fitted to an excavator for breaking rocks or concrete. The breakers have plenty of applications such as demolition, rock excavation, rock breaking, trenching, foundation work, asphalt cutting, and many other uses. But they are primarily used to break rock. And each kind of rock has its own properties and hardness. People who produces aggregates have several options with an excavator. Anyhow, they have to select suitable breakers compatible with their base machine. At the same time, the breaker should have the capability to manage the material they work with. As you think of a hydraulic breaker, it's a strong construction tool made of steel. Each breaker is made of they are made for specific job according to the operating weight of the base machine. Now let us see what is behind the action of a breaker. We have already seen that in an excavator, there is a house which consists of a rotating cab, an attachment, and a dry base. In an excavator, there are right and left joystick controls. These joystick controls can control the cab, boom, stick, and attachment of your choice. You can find a locking lever on the left side of the cab, which you can pull up or down. When you down the lever, joystick controls are locked. When you push the lever up, you can unlock the controls. Simply speaking, the hydraulic force is behind the action of the breaker, which is attached to the excavator. We are creating a mechanical force, by forcing the hydraulic fluid through pipes and hoses. These pipes and hoses are of very small diameter, and it will develop pressure inside the system. We can develop pressure by squeezing the fluid because we consider that a liquid is non-compressible. You don't need to think of a hydraulic breaker always when you wanted to break concrete. If you have a concrete slab of around 2-inch thickness, you may use a sledgehammer. But remember that hydraulic breakers are used with excavators for large demolition jobs. You know that there are areas where you can't do an explosion for demolition of a structure, due to environmental and safety factors. In these cases, you can comfortably use a hydraulic breaker with an excavator. You can find excavators with hydraulic breakers also on quarries and mining jobs. No doubt, a hydraulic breaker along with an excavator is a good friend on job sites when your goal is to demolish a structure. Having the right excavator and a compatible breaker is not enough to do your job perfectly. Choosing a breaker based on the operating capacity of the base machine is very much essential, but you should go for the best operating practices. For example, if your operator tried to break the center of a hard rock or concrete, and he continuously hammering, the same spot for a long time, say about 30 seconds, it's not a recommended practice. Once you try to hammer the same spot and it fails to break the object, certainly severe heat will be generated in the tool. This will cause damage to the hydraulic system, particularly the seals, and ultimately overall damage to the entire tool. You know why? As we apply high pressure hammering on a spot and it fails to break the surface, there will be a back pressure applied on the machine through the breaker. This is really a potential threat to the life of the machine. The best practice is to start with an edge to start at a spot where there is a crack. The right practice is to hammer for say 10 to 15 seconds, and if we fail to break, then change the spot. There are a couple of things that we should keep in mind while using a breaker with an excavator. If we continue using the jackhammer, it is mandatory that the tool should touch the surface properly. Also, sufficient weight has to be applied by the operator on the tool to break the surface. Otherwise, firing the tool without proper weight and pressure on the ground can lead to severe damage of the hydraulic breaker. In the industry, people call it as dry firing, or some people say blank firing. This can also cause severe damage to critical components such as the piston. So, the best way is to disengage hydraulics as you need to lift the tool out of the working surface. Another important point in using a breaker with an excavator is to choose the right size. If your selection of breaker is too small for the machine, it will subject to tremendous pressure and it may damage the breaker. If you select a very large breaker, not really compatible with the excavator, then what happens is that the power is partially distributed between the working surface and the breaker. If it happens, you need to hit more and more for achieving the power output required to break the surface. So it is essential to check the operating weight of the base machine and its hydraulic output so that it will match with the breaker. Of course, your dealer will have a chart indicating all these specifications. The same criteria is applicable to the excavator. As I said before, operating weight of an excavator is crucial in your application. If you have a soft soil or a sensitive surface, a large excavator can cause damage to the job site. If your excavator is very small, it may not be sufficient to lift heavy loads. What people normally do is that they mark the excavator model, the model number on the top bracket of the breaker so that they don't make a mistake. One of the best practices is to inspect the breaker before and after every usage in order to ensure good working conditions. There are a few basic instructions normally all breaker operators receive. This is to increase the life of the unit. First of all, an operator should know that the purpose of the hydraulic breaker is to break an object. It is very important that it should never ever be used to lift an object. It should not be used to push or to move a rock. It should not be used to pull two objects apart. Now, do you think that you will be requiring an excavator? Here's a tip for you. If you plan to work a project throughout the year, at an average of say 35 hours per month. It is recommended to purchase a unit. There are plenty of other kind of attachments that we can accommodate with an excavator. God willing, I hope to go through them on another occasion. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and please share with me your thoughts and suggestions. And if you like my video, please visit my YouTube channel and subscribe. Thank you for watching. God bless.